My name is Gary Files and I'm the director of the Kielder Observatory in Northumberland, the United Kingdom. And I've came here to sunny California, to Pasadena, for Spacefest 2014. And the reason I've came here is because some of the most important people in the history of space exploration have gathered here, including men who walked on the moon. Fred Haise was born in Mississippi in 1933. He's an American engineer and former NASA astronaut and is one of only 24 humans to have flown to the moon as a lunar module pilot on Apollo 13. He was to have been the 6th human to land and walk on the moon, but the mission had to be abandoned due to a spacecraft failure, although famously all crew were returned safely. Due to the free return trajectory on this mission, Haise and the other 2 astronauts on Apollo 13 likely hold the record for the furthest distance from the Earth ever travelled by human beings.
My name is Fred Haise, and I was an Apollo astronaut. I trained as a backup for Apollo 8, Apollo 11, and Apollo 16. And was fortunate to get to fly Apollo 13, a lunar mission, where we did not land because we had a problem on the way.
What was the problem with Apollo 13? What actually happened? And from a human perspective, how did it feel to be involved in that, Fred?
Well, in a very short explanation, basically it was an electric short within an oxygen tank, tank 2. We had 2 tanks. And the second tank had basically a short that caused a fire or an expansion of the liquid oxygen in that tank to cause the tank to separate or explode, and blew away 1/4 of the spacecraft, and resulted also in a leak in the second tank, oxygen tank, and ultimately having to power down completely that spacecraft.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here.
5 guidance. Go guidance. We've had a hardware restart. I don't know what it was.
Okay. Houston, we've had a problem. We've had a main B bus undervolt.
It was particularly extraordinary because the circumstances were one where there was no plan to get us back. Explosions obviously had been thought of as failure modes in the design and of the vehicles. The result of an explosion was expected to be you lost the vehicle and you lost the crew. So in that circumstance, you don't need a plan B. So we caused the problem by still being alive. And so there was a lot of scrambling that had to be done to do workarounds for things that I never thought to have to do workarounds for to enable us to get back.
At the moment, the astronauts are continuing to try to isolate their trouble. A late report says the spacecraft now is operating on battery power alone. All unnecessary equipment is being turned off.
Okay, now let's everybody keep cool. We got LEM still attached. The LEM spacecraft's good, so if we need to get back home, we got a LEM to do a good portion of it with. Okay, let's make sure that we don't do anything that's going to blow our CSM electrical power with the batteries, or that will cause us to lose the main or the fuel cell number 2. Okay, we want to keep the O2 and that kind of stuff working. We'd like to have RCS, but we got the command module system, so we're in good shape if we need to get home. Let's solve the problem, but let's not make it any worse by guessing.
Workarounds that thankfully worked and did bring you back, which was an incredible feat.
Right, and it was a lot of people, I mean, around the country. The program was quite large. It had been coming down from the peak of over 400,000 people on the program. At the time we flew Apollo 13, there still were probably 250,000 people involved. Now, for this particular incident, I have no idea how many were drawn in with telephone conversations and consulting, but I would expect it was in the order of thousands of people somehow touched, giving information or working directly on solving some of these issues.
What do you think the message is that we've learned from all of the Apollo programs and what you guys started off?
Well, I think the Apollo program and space program in general, for things that even followed, is a sense of the amazing things that can be accomplished if a program is backed financially and you assemble the right skills, the right type of people with the right training and education, and they're managed with right leadership to work together. You can do some pretty miraculous things, and Apollo 13 kind of gave a nice dramatic example of that.
It absolutely did. Fred Haise, this has been a real honour and a thrill for me to meet you here today. We waited a long time for this moment, so from California, Pasadena, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Odyssey Houston, we show you on the mains. It really looks great. Going through 5,000. Under Apollo 13, this is recovery, and your chutes look good. This is recovery, over. Photo 1 spliced in at this time.
From the start, the exploration of space has been hazardous adventure. The voyage of Apollo 13 dramatized its risks. The men of Apollo 13, by their poise and skill under the most intense kind of pressure, epitomized the character that accepts danger and surmounts it. Theirs is the spirit that built America. Your mission served your country. It served to remind us all of our proud heritage of a nation, to remind us that in this age of technicians and scientific marvels, that the individual still counts, that in a crisis, the character of a man or of men will make the difference.